A bit of belladonna. She walked her wild garden, touching each and every plant. Her hair was white and tousled, in her basket rode a cat. She picked a bit of nettle, some lavender and sage, a little bit of lamb's ear and a snip of belladonna for a tiny sip of tea. She could feel the storm a-brewing in both the town and sky. When she was young they called her Vixen, with her hair of raven black. When her hair began to gray she was midwife, sometimes herbalist or healer, but since her hair had turned to white she knew they called her witch. There was an anger that was brewing in both the sky and town. She heard it whispered in the trees and grumbled in the ground. She knew her time was growing near. She knew what happens after fear. When groups of men are filled with fury they find comfort in their fires, comfort in the burning. She lay her basket full of herbs and cat and set to work. The storms were growing closer now. She had a few things yet to do. She tapped and turned the coals and put a kettle on to boil. She sipped a bit of belladonna for her tea. Sitting in her rocking chair, Pussy Willow purring in her lap, she looked in Kitty's eyes of storm. Sky Green gave the rocker the first tap. That's when the thunder gave a crack. The harder that she rocked, the harder that it rained. She rocked a groove right in the floor. The skies above blew and poured. And Pussy Willow grew quite bored and closed her eyes to sleep. She had no fear upon her hill, safe from the flooding down below, in the town. The tea kettle cried and she poured a small bowl and a cup with a bit of belladonna for her and Kitty's tea. After both had drank she stopped her rocking. On the door there was a knocking. She could hear the angry shouting when the torch came through her door, and her windows. The fire licked up her floors. Then the old witch was no more, only a cat with hair of raven black and eyes of sky storm green, who darted out the door. There was a shadow in her garden as Pussy Willow watched the angry mob of men. Again. She turned her tail and sauntered away in the dark rainy night. Some few years passed when at last a new girl had come to town. She bought that burned up shack on the hillside unseen. She walked through the garden even wilder now. Her hands brushed the lavender and sage. She picked some belladonna, just a smidge. Smiling to herself, when will these angry fools ever learn you cannot burn a witch? The wind tossing her hair of raven black and lighting up her eyes of sky storm green.